So just so we're all clear too, when we talk about the placebo effect, you guys know what we're talking about. You're just doing something that has no medical, biological, right, sugar pill. And that actually was described as that, right? So you had 80 people split into two groups, 40 and 40, pretty small samples. And that's why I like to run the analysis of this study, because there are pretty small samples. They're pretty small samples. Here, half of them had nothing. So they all have IBS, which is awful. So half of them, you just come in, you still hurting? Sorry, go home. And half of them, you're still hurting? Sorry, here's a pill that has absolutely nothing in it. But take it. Why should I take it? It's a sugar pill. Take it. It's a placebo. But why should I take it? Take it. So in other words, nothing at all except the action of putting something in your mouth and swallowing it, as if like taking an Advil for a headache, or taking ibuprofen for pain, or whatever. So that's how it was described. It was actually the patients were educated in that. They weren't being like BS. This is a magic pill. It's going to make your IBS go away. So it's a sugar pill. We're explaining placebo printed on the bottom. I love that. I love that. So no active ingredient. 3-week period. Patients were monitored by the end of the trial. Careful on this one. 24 of the patients who had been treated with the placebo reported adequate symptom relief. First question you ask as researchers. What is adequate symptom relief? How do you think? What do you think it was? What do you think? I don't have this information. It wasn't given to me. How do you think adequate symptom relief is measured in a case like this?
A reduction.
Yes or no?
Less episodes, maybe? 2 episodes of between? Yes? Blake, go ahead.
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Binary? Yes or no? Good, good. I was thinking pain scale. I just got done doing PT for my shoulder, and I was told about 4 weeks ago you can go back to doing butterfly in the pool as long as your pain doesn't get above a 3. My first question to my PT, who stopped asking me this question shortly thereafter, what's a 3? She's like, what do you mean, what's a 3? I'm like, what's a 3? How's it different than a 2 or a 4? She's like, oh, Christ. You're one of those guys. I'm like, what are what guys? And I was offended by that. Sorry, Dr. Laura, I love you. But the point was, you got to make sure that whatever metric is being used is metric properly. So let's assume it was. Let's assume it was. Because we can't assume any other than we got the data. 24 said yes, we're better. 24 of the 40, which is more than half. 14 of the 40 said no, it's not, which is less than half. So more than half versus less than half sounds good, yes? But the question is, with a small sample size, does it hold up? So, here's the question I have for you guys. Let's learn how to...
We're not the ones that actually had the actual pills.
Say that again.
We're not the ones that actually had the...
There was no actual pill, that's the thing. There was a placebo pill and the other group that had nothing.
Oh, the other group
That had nothing at all. That's what I loved about this study. No drugs were used at all. Sugar pills and nothing. Amazing, amazing stuff. So, grab a template. Let's work through this. We'll have time to work through this one, I think.
What happened to the other 2 people that didn't report?
Other 2 people.
Yeah, the 24, 14.
Oh, 24 in the placebo group, and 14 in the non-placebo group.
Oh, God.
So 24 out of 40. So 24 and 16, and 14 and 26. Make sense, Al?
Yep.
Good, sir. Good. Question: what variable are we testing? Aha! Try to pull a fast one on you. Unsuccessfully. We're testing proportions again, aren't we? How can you tell we're testing proportions again? Yes. 14 out of 40. 24 out of 40. Nowhere in here is there a sliding scale of measurement. We're not testing how much pain these people had on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. We simply, and Blake, I think you said it the perfect way. You said yes or no. A percentage of yes, relief. When yes equals relief, percentage of those who got relief. Yeah, so this is definitely a binary situation. We're switching back to proportions. How many sets of proportions do we have? We have 2, which is why I'm looping this in with means. We now have little p1 and little p2. Yes, yes. If we asked them how much pain or how much relief on a scale of 1 to 10, we'd be talking about muse again. But we didn't. We just said yes or no, relief or no relief. Thank you. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying it's different. You gotta learn how to deal with that.
So little P1.
What's little p1 going to be?
How many were not?
Percentage of those that got relief?
Without.
So we say without. So that's the non-placebo groups. In other words, so we're going to define P1. I'm hearing from Danielle. I think we can live with this. This is the percentage of those who got relief in the do nothing group. Is that okay to call it that? So this isn't the group that got the placebo. This is just the group that came in. We said, oh, I'm so sorry you have IBS. Go home. Is that okay? We're going to call that P1.
So would they be the control then?
Yes. What's so funny, Natasha? Yes, I would call them the control group. But usually, what do you use for a control group? Placebos. Isn't that funny in this study? This would be the control group in this study because the placebo is actually the experiment. Isn't that weird? That's why I love this study because it's like backwards from what you're used to hearing about. So yeah, that would be the control group. Yeah, that would be the control group in this study. Please, Nick.
Is that belief or relief?
Relief. Sorry.
Okay.
I believe. Well, maybe it is belief. I don't know. Sure. I believe I'm feeling better. And the other one, of course, is going to be the placebo group, which becomes the experimental group. So this is the percentage of those
Got relief.
who got relief in the placebo or experimental group.
They shouldn't even call them patients because they're not being treated.
See, it's an uncontrolled study, right? It's an uncontrolled study. You're taking these people in, doing something non-medical, and then letting them go back. So you're not actually treating anything. That's true. That's true. I think Harvard's big point, though, was can we measure the placebo effect? I see what you're saying, but in order to measure the placebo effect, you kind of have to break the rules of what a placebo is and treat it experiments. I totally agree, Mel. Totally agree. I just think that point that if they're trying to test has to make them kind of think outside the box a little bit. Maybe. Maybe. And we're also assuming all 80 of those people are equivalent in every way except for the fact that these 40 did this and this 40 did this. You guys are asking fantastic research questions. That's why I'm glad that actually none of you are taking research methods class. Damn it! Glad we're talking about it then. That makes me happy. Okay. We got the variables defined. What are the hypotheses that you think we should test?
P2.
I'm going to let you guys pick it. They're obviously P1, P2, yes? I want you to think about this. Actually, let's just do the research for right now. I'm going to let you guys pick. I'm going to let you guys pick. Danielle's got her pick. Let me see hands on this one, because once you get this sign, everything's gold. Let me see hands, let me see hands, let me see hands. We got good, give us some time. We got 4 hands, 5 hands. This is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. Amaya, go. What do you believe? Who should we test?
P2 is greater than P1.
P2 is greater than P1. I love that. Or P1 is less than P2. Is that okay if I put it that way?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what it looks like's going on, doesn't it? Doesn't it look like the placebo group's getting a higher percentage of relief than the control group? It looks that way. 50%. A number bigger than 50% is clearly bigger than a number less than 50%. The question is, with a small sample size, is the margin of error so wide that it doesn't matter anyway? I don't know. That's the test of significance. Null if you want it. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Good. You'll notice when you look at your exams for 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, on a couple of the questions, I just tell you to give me a test statistic and a p-value. I don't have you write the entire thing down. The reason I'm doing that in the very last exam is because that's very often what you see in reports. You don't see all of this stuff in reports very often. I like doing this for the 10 weeks we're together because I want you to learn it right. But then I'm also in that last assessment trying to get you kind of used to what you're actually going to see in the world as you consume this stuff. All right. Errors.
Saying it works when it doesn't.
Saying it works when it doesn't. Work. Oh, good. Saying that the placebo group is actually showing more relief when they're not. Good. Saying the placebo effect exists when it does. You can even say it that way if you want. Gotta make it really strong. That's type 1. Thank you, Emily. Saying there's a change when there's not. So type 2, Daniel, go for it.
So
Type 1, type 2.
Group did not get more relief.
Boom! When they actually did. So in other words, we might, that's what I'm most concerned about that. Me personally, I'm most concerned with that one, because if this actually measures the placebo effect, and the placebo effect exists and we miss it because of small sample sizes, that kind of makes me concerned a little bit. So that, personally, I'm interested in the placebo effect, only because I'm constantly hearing it. Oh, how do you like your acupuncture? How do you like your acupuncture? Like, I like it a lot. Here's my allergies. Oh, it's placebo. Like, here's my allergies. And this, again, goes to the difference between it goes to the difference between statistical analysis and anecdotal evidence. Just because something doesn't work on average doesn't mean it won't work for you. And my God, my allergies are, I'm blessed in many ways in health. Allergies are one way that Mother Nature has a field day with me. She just hits me and hits me and hits me and nothing works. I've taken allergy shots, I've had systemic reactions, my throat's closed, my eyes have swelled shut for a day. Can't do allergy shots. Over-the-counter stuff doesn't work. Prescription stuff works okay. Exactly. Well, yeah, I'm with you. Local honey, this is interesting. Let's come back to that again if you don't mind. I've actually studied that one a lot because we keep bees. No effect whatsoever. For me, I'm going to tell you why. I think I have a theory as to why. I'll tell you why. Acupuncture. I go to acupuncture, get acupuncture for allergies, I'm riding my bike away, my nose opens up, everything clears. Placebo? Sure, it works. Anecdotal evidence. I can't prove that it works for everybody, it works for me. See the difference? When you're reading a research journal, you're trying to show it applies to a population. Anecdotal evidence doesn't care about that. It works for you, or it works for your family. That's what you care about. Cool! So anyway, you guys pick whatever area you think is worse. My vote would be type 2, but that's just my vote. You guys can pick whatever you want. Type 1 might be worse because then you've proved the placebo effect, or you think you've proved the placebo effect when it actually doesn't exist. So, some doctors, did you catch that bit? Some doctors actually prescribe placebos to their patients.
I would say because it actually didn't treat, if they seriously do have.
And that's what we're trying to measure, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to measure. If this is measurably significant, then maybe there's a legitimate case for doing that. Yeah. So anyway, I think we're done the beginnings. Let's now crunch the numbers.
Yeah, how do you do that?
How do you crunch the numbers?
Yeah.
Oh, good, yes! So very good. Danielle's like, I'm ready to go, except I don't know what button to push. So, can you guys find it? Stat tests.
Yeah, but don't you have to have something in, you don't have to have anything in L1 or
We're
L2?
going to find out in a second. Once you know which tests to run, you'll know what you have to put in.
The two samples, the two samples each.
So, there's two things that look close, yes? There's one called a two-sample z-test. If you go to that one, which you will only go to right now and never go to again, you'll notice some issues with this selection. Do you see them? They're glaringly obvious to me.
Population.
You need the standard deviation.
The population. Ugh, we don't know that. So you can't use that. Now, you've forgotten this already, and that's totally fine because it's been a long term. You're never ever going to use any test with a z, or anything with a z unless it also has a what? A prop. Oh, int. It doesn't have to have an int, but it has to have a prop. So, can you find something with two props z? There's an int and a test. The first one I come to is two prop z test. He's right there under one prop z test, which is exactly where he should be. So, two prop z test. And now when you get to this screen, it's like, oh my god, it's so simple compared to everything we saw before. And it is simple compared to everything we saw before. It's much, much simpler. Extraordinarily straightforward. All you've got to do is put in your data. So this is where you put it in. There are no lists to put in, Danielle, because quite simply, for proportions, it's simply successes over trials. There's no list of least to greatest measurements. So in step 1, which is the percent of those who got relief in the do-nothing group, that was 14 out of, I think, 40, if I remember correctly. That was the do-nothing group. They came in, sorry, pat on the back, get the hell out of my office. Number 2, X2 is going to be the 24 out of 40 in the placebo group, which becomes the experimental group, which is somewhat confusing, and I apologize. All you gotta do is make sure you get the sign correct. For us, it's less than. I love what Amaya said, that P2 bigger than P1. Just make sure your mind can flip that around because you're putting P1 first in the TI.
That didn't work.
It didn't work. Did it give you an error?
Yes.
Turn your graphs off. Turn your graphs off. Guarantee it's a graph error. As long as you put in whole numbers here, and as long as these are bigger than those, you're golden. All right, here we go. Oh crap, wrong button. Here we go. Here we go.
So 40, 40, 24, 40.
Yeah. And it's a Z.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Did you catch that? We switched back to Z's. Why? Because I'm a bastard. No. Because we're back to proportions again. Because we're back to proportions again. Not because I'm a bastard. I think I'm a bastard. We're back to proportions. So the test statistic is 2.2 standard deviations below 0. Is that significant? Very. 1.3% p-value. Well under 5%, or under 5% enough for research. So my concerns about the samples being too small are invalid based on this. It looks like, or it appears,
It appears that.
looks like the placebo effect works in this study. Could you be wrong? Hell yes, which is why I'm waiting very patiently for this study to be replicated.
If they're wrong, that means they're in that 1.26.
Yes, it means that essentially the difference should be here, Blake. We just unfortunately shook the dice and landed in the tail, which happens 5% of the time anyway, right? We just happen to get it first. So I want to see it done again to see if we land there again. If we land there again, does that make sense?
So it's not, it has nothing to do with the p-value. It's 5.
It's the p-value compared to 5. In fact, it's both. So knowing that the p-value is 1.2 or 1.3, it means it landed south of 5%. So anything less than 5 would have landed over there. If it was 0.1, or if it was 1.3, or if it was 0.001. I want to see the study done again to see if it lands in that region again. Is that fair? Great question. Great question. Local honey. Local honey. Oh, real quick about the placebo first. Local honey, from what I understand, doesn't do anything for allergies because bees harvest pollen. The majority of the pollen they harvest is insect-borne, not wind-borne. When you're allergic, you're mostly allergic to wind-borne particles, which the bees don't harvest. It's very interesting, and it makes perfect sense. There will be some wind-borne pollen in their pollen sacs in the honey, but only that which they pick up by flying through it, not that they're sitting on there. They visit things like salvia, which usually not lavender. Some people are allergic to lavender, so that's good. Bachelor button. They don't pollinate juniper, ponderosa, sage. These are all wind-blown pollens, which they don't pollinate.
Big theory.
It's a huge theory, and it's so tempting to believe it. I mean, that's not why we raise bees, but I'm like, oh yeah, bonus. But it doesn't appear to have any effect because it's the wrong pollen. There is some of that pollen in them, but 95% or more of what they're harvesting is the wrong stuff. Unless you're allergic to that stuff, in which case maybe it's a good thing. But if you're allergic to that stuff, chances are it's so bad it's not going to work anyway. What? What's up, Carly?
So are we turning the 3 in today?
I don't know. Well, the first one I want you to keep. The first one that we did together, which was the Core Plus versus traditional without calculators. Keep that one for reference.
Okay, so that one was the...
That was the very first one we did today.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. I think so. I'd like to. I want you to turn in, if you want to, of course, Core Plus with technology. That was the one we started around 9. You guys were doing by yourself. Let's do that one, yes? Do you want to turn in this placebo one, yes, as well? So let's make 2 piles up here, yes? Let's make a pile for Core Plus. Where's Core Plus? Dylan, what's up, my friend? What was from last time? I forgot.
We didn't turn in one on the Tuesday.
Fever.
Brakes on the bikes and
Oh no! I wanted you to keep that one too because that was the great to have some remember to this class today. I want you to have some stuff in your books at all times for reference and some stuff to turn in. Fair enough? And if we have time, I have that one to revisit with a different kind of breaks anyway, so we'll have fun. Yes.
One that I forgot to put my name on.
Thank you. Actually, I probably do it right now if the grade book's not open in my office, which I hope it's not. That's the thing going on. Thank you, friends. Have a great weekend. Very nice. Good job, you Mikey.